Hi, this is Tim Sanders, founder of the Omnia Radiation Balancer. Pretty soon there will be 5G masts going up all around us, and we want to make sure that you're giving yourself the best protection on the market. Our solution is unique. We use a new source of energy from the fifth dimension to balance radiation fields on any device, making it safe to use. Our results show that this structures water, it balances the blood, and it keeps your body super strong. And yes, it works on 5G. The energy in the patch never runs out, so count up all the radiating devices in your life, stick one on each, and you're done. Click on the link below and you'll soon be bringing balance and strength back to your body. Thank you.
I'll do that again. I'm gonna cut that out of there.
The lion tamer.
Yeah. Hey guys, you're listening to Journey to Truth podcast. Tonight we're joined by James Gilliland. For those of you who don't know, he is the founder of ECETI Ranch. He's a contactee. He's an author. He hosts As You Wish, our ECETI Stargate radio show every Saturday night, which is really amazing. And that's kind of how we got turned on to him. So we've developed a friendship over the past year, and we're excited to have him back on the show. We just got back from ECETI, the conference. It was incredible. There's so many stories to tell just from that weekend. But welcome to the show. James, how's it going over there?
Oh, great. Great to be back on the show. And some of the last stragglers are just now finally leaving, so. Nice. So, yeah, we had a few people that hung on and helped with the cleanup and things like that, which is great. But we're finally, we just had a major kind of a yoga combination shamanic journey workshop that just went really well. Everybody just loved it. And what's really funny is that I was teaching the Qigong, and right when we were doing the fire exercise, the fire movement, this guy's tent caught on fire.
No way.
Yeah, so we just finished fire, and all of a sudden we're done, and we're getting ready to go into air, and all of a sudden you hear that somebody's fire, screaming fire, fire, and we had to quit and run and he had a charging unit, and he was charging his computers and everything else, and it caught on fire. I think he had his bag on top of it to hide it so people wouldn't know it was there, and then it just caught on fire. So,
speaking of fires, have you been paying attention to all those fires and explosions all around the world lately this past week? I mean,
yeah, hasn't there been like 13 or something explosions?
Yeah, it's been a lot.
I counted today between fires and explosions that were documented. There was 31 total.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and that's insane. I mean, and these aren't, if you look at these aren't typical fires, these aren't typical explosions. Some of them are clearly DEWs, direct energy weapons, in my opinion. Yeah. I mean, these buildings are getting pulverized. I think personally this could be some type of an alliance effort, wiping out the last of these deep state strongholds. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
It could even be them covering things up, because like Wuhan and all these other people had fires, and so it might be a combination of both, taking them out, and then they're probably, lighting fires to cover their tracks as well. I'm not sure, but that one in Beirut, when I saw the footage of that, there was a missile that came down, undeniable missile. You could see the missile come down. Yeah. And all the people I know that talked about it, they said that fertilizer ship couldn't have created that big of a hole, that big of an explosion. So
it created a crater, like a huge crater in the ground.
Yeah. And then one of the fires was a Rothschild bank. And like you said, the Wuhan lab. I mean, it's just, it's very suspicious. It's something to keep your eye on right now. And, Q's been saying for a long time, August is going to be a very hot month, or it's normally a very hot month. Mm-hmm. So that makes me think that there is something more to all this. Well, there is, but we can only speculate right now.
Have you heard about the White House going green? They pulled down all the shades and it's green, and I guess that's a symbol that it's on.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and then Trump said, "You're not going to see me for a while."
Yeah, he said he has a lot of rich people that are very angry with him. Yeah, he's not going to see me for a while.
Not going to see me for a little while. So it sounds like he's going to a safe place, and they're getting ready to clean house. I hope,
Yeah. And
Yeah,
what's interesting about that too is yesterday during a press conference, by the time this airs, it'll be a few days earlier than this, but during the press conference, he was pulled off by the Secret Service agent in the middle of his speech, and because there was a shooting outside. It just so happens that the shooting was at 17th and Penn Street, and then today there was a fire at JFK Airport. So
today there was
a shooting at the 17th, and then a fire at JFK Airport. So you got. Are they trying to tell us something about JFK?
Yeah, it's interesting. I didn't get any details. I guess some guy acted like he was pulling something out of his pocket, and he said something to the guy, and he went into a shooting stance. And then I guess the Secret Service guy shot him, but then they said he went to the hospital too. I guess something happened to him. I don't know. It's really ambiguous, the whole thing. I don't know what really happened there. We probably won't know until later, but I wish they'd, give you some details on that.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, honestly,
there's a lot happening right now. That's all. That's all we really know.
Well, really, to try and dissect it all is just almost a waste of energy at this time, because we need to be doing what we always say: the inner work and just other stuff that's coming up. We need to be dealing with. And whenever you're so involved in trying to figure out what's going on, you kind of really get distracted. So
you get caught up in all that.
Yeah. That's what these workshops we just finished were all about. They're all about really deep, dealing with your inner child stuff, dealing with your patterns, and it was a combination of yoga and owning your dark side too, clearing that out. So it was a very powerful retreat.
Yeah,
beautiful.
Yeah, I could probably use something like that right about now.
Yeah, I don't have any dark side, and I'm not in denial either.
You're perfect.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I'm not schizophrenic, and neither am I.
Yeah.
But
yeah, it's always, you always have to be careful of the people that tell you the work that you need to do.
Yeah. Oh God.
Yeah.
That's a
I had so many people come up to me this last weekend and other weekends too, and they go, "I have a message for you. It's a channeled message," and I get so many of those, and some of the messages are really pretty crazy. Everything from people coming up to saying that there's some Messiah or some prophet from the past, and I'm supposed to turn over the keys to him. Like he said, because I'm in contact with Mary, and so are they, and so it's just crazy. And I keep saying, I didn't get the memo. I tell them, I said, well, I didn't get the memo until I do. Things are going to be business as usual. But yeah, it's just. I tell people I don't give my power away to any external sources. And that's what we teach here. Go within, make your own contact, get your own messages, and make your own personal connection with source. And if you do that, you're going to have contact along the way, basically. But yeah, so it's pretty, I think the veils are coming down. They're getting thinner. People are having all kinds of influences coming to them. And some are positive and some are not, and that's the trick, is using discernment and learning how to heal the unseen negative influences and, stand in your own self-authority and divinity through these crazy times.
Yeah. And I think you're right as far as, when you're on that path, the experiences just come to you. And some people, I think some people aren't really supposed to remember their experiences, and some people are. I think it all depends on what you're here to do. Because I know certain personality types, if they were to have an experience or have some profound thing happen, they would become so focused on that experience, they could actually sidetrack them from what they're supposed to be doing.
Yeah, exactly. It could be a big detour.
Yeah. So that's just something to consider for anybody listening who might wonder why they don't have that experience. It could be something like that.
Well, there's some things I haven't experienced, and certain types of beings and things like that other people are working with, and they come and they want me to validate it, and I just say, well, that's not been my experience, And I found out that when you are working with certain groups, you create a relationship, and the other ones don't get involved because they don't want to interfere or sidetrack you or take you off in a different direction. So a lot of times, if you have a really strong spiritual connection and you're working with one of the known masters, or you're working with a different Star Nation group, you know, a lot of times you're not going to see some of the other things because it would just be a big, like you're saying, a big distraction.
Yeah. Speaking of, I've been meaning to tell you this. So I have astral projection. I astral project, but it doesn't, I never do it at will. It just happens when I'm not really ready for it.
Mm-hmm.
But every time I do, you are there and you're showing, and you're showing me how to fly and like how to use my body, because it's like learning how to walk again. And you like give me this tour, and is on 2 separate occasions, you've taken me this place and introduced me to a family of Sasquatch or Bigfoot. And it was so real. Like I felt like I actually have seen one because of it. And it's just funny. I don't know I don't know what's going on up there, but thank you.
I hear that a lot from people. People say I appear to them, and there's a lot of work being done in the astral levels and the etheric levels as well. And then I've had some cases where I've actually bilocated and hung out with people, and I didn't even know I did it. You know, it's like I was meditating, I just went out and I came back, and then after the meditation, and I had a vague, kind of a dreamlike memory of something happening, and I found out I was actually there. I actually bilocated and hung out with people, and sometimes in Mexico or somewhere else. It's really interesting how and they give detailed information. So it definitely was me, because they wouldn't have known, you know, that, you know, other information.
So do you mean like you bilocate, meaning your physical body actually shows up somewhere?
Yeah. A good example is I was meditating here and it was snowing. It was in December, like late December. And these friends of mine called me up and they go, "Hey, we're going to Mexico, and a place that I know really well." And they said, why don't you come down and hang out like this? And I go, I can't, you know, if I leave here, the pipes are going to freeze and I have to take care of the place. And so, God, I wish I could, you know, and then so I hung up and I went in there. I was doing a deep meditation. And I remember just kind of passing out, almost just going out. And then when I came back, I was all refreshed and I was sunburned. You know, I had sunburn, and I was really full, like I ate a meal, and it was really bizarre.
Wow.
And so I get a text from later that, "God, it was awesome you coming down to Mexico and hanging out with us, and you know, thanks for dinner, you know." And so I guess I bought him dinner too, which is for something, I don't know. It's just like all these details. I guess I must have gone with my wallet, you know, or something. I don't know. But yeah, it's a lot of times when you go with whatever you have on, you know, whatever you're wearing. So if your wallet's in your pocket, you know, you'll end up there with it as well. But yeah, and they said. I said, "Are you sure it was me?" And they said, "Yeah, we were talking about the class, the self-mastery class we took, and all the details around that." And I said, "All right." You know, I said, "I knew I went somewhere, but I wasn't sure where."
Awesome.
You know, so things like that happen a lot, you know, and it's really natural for us to do that. It's nothing really special. If we just, the more we meditate, the more we do our spiritual practices, things like this happen. They're kind of natural to happen.
Yeah, it's a friend. I had a dream about a friend of mine. It was more of an experience. It was so real. I texted her the next morning and told her about it, and she was getting ready to text me at the same time to tell me about her dream about me. And we ended up realizing that it wasn't a dream at all, and we were both somewhere else. And we explained the exact same place, the same details, the same conversation.
Yeah,
we were together, and we woke up, and we both had memory of it. It was the first time that's actually ever happened to me that vividly, that clearly. So I think the veil is thinning. I think we're starting to really get to know each other on a different level right now.
Yeah, I always meet people and I go, "I know you," and then I have to figure out from where. And a lot of times it wasn't even this lifetime; it's another one. And you feel the energy and you feel the connection and the memories you have, the emotional feeling of the memories, but you don't have the details, you know. And so I have to go sit with it and figure out what it is or where it was and everything.
Yeah, it's crazy. And while we're on crazy stories, I know that you have told a story before, but I wanted you to tell it to our audience about the pterodactyl out there at the ranch.
Yeah.
If you don't mind, might be my favorite ESETI story that I can't get enough of.
Well, what happened was it was even on Coast to Coast on when Art Bell was around. They kept seeing these pterodactyls in the area, and they would actually land on the highway and they'd be eating roadkill, and people would drive around the corner and see it and crash and things like that. And then there was one case where the police were right behind the guy. He went off the road and crashed, and the police pulled up right after that, and the guy was delirious, and he couldn't even say it. He couldn't even, he kept saying like, he was going pterodactyl, like, and the guy goes, and luckily the police, the officer saw it as well. He said, or I would have arrested this guy right there for drunk driving, or under drugs or something like that. But he saw it as well. And there's been a lot of sightings in this area, and it's actually a pterosaurus. It has the ball at the end of its tail. And we've had about 3 sightings of it here. And one time it actually landed in one of the trees not too far off to the left, still on East property. And I walked out there and I was looking at it through the night vision, and I could see it really clearly. It wasn't even really dark yet, but it was kind of dusk. And I was looking at it and I go, God, thing's got the weirdest head on it. I've never seen anything like this. And it's way too big to be an owl or an eagle or anything else. And so I took the laser and I lit it up. I just shot it in the chest and lit it up and made this screech out of like Jurassic Park or something like that. And then came flying towards us, and it just flew over us. And the rest of the group saw it too. And they, some thought they saw a dragon. Some thought because it didn't have feathers and it was huge and it's flying hard, it's harder for them to fly, it seems like. And just really bizarre. But I found out there's a river over near Yakima where they see these things swooping down and getting salmon at night and grabbing fish and eating fish and things like that. So I need to get more details and go there. And I want to go there with some night vision and see if I can film what's going on there. But they said it happens on a regular basis. But I think it's part of the inner earth, that opening that opens up that doorway. I think things get out now and then when they leave the door open too long or something. I don't know what happens, but
yeah. Well, if you go there, you need to bring a saddle with you and strap onto that thing.
Yeah, I'll pass on that one.
Right.
Like Avatar, like Avatar, the movie.
Yeah.
Just gotta.
When it flew over my head, I saw how big it was and everything, and then. And this may sound very unspiritual, but it came back again, and it was sitting in a tree. And I said, I'm not checking that one out without a pistol, because, if I become on the menu, I want to have something to protect myself with. So I went over there. It was in the back 40 over there. It was sitting on another tree, just screeching. And there's no bird like that. We have screech owls, but there's nothing like that sound they make. I've never heard anything like it.
Well, I can't imagine that you would mistake that for something else. I mean, has there been one sighted during the day ever?
Yeah, a friend of mine, it was flying by in the daytime, and I handed him the binoculars to go, check this out. And I handed him the binoculars. He was looking at it, and he's going, what the hell? He goes, is that a dragon? He goes, no. I go, well, look, just keep watching it. And I go, so what are you saying like this? And he just freaked out. He wouldn't even say it. And he goes, looks like a pterodactyl or something like this. And I go, yep. I guess so. Welcome to the club. It's like quite a few of us have seen it.
Wow. That's amazing. Yeah. I'm going to be keeping my eye open for that next time I'm out there. So let's talk about Camp Disclosure a little bit. That's coming up here in a few weeks. I know you're speaking. You're going to be doing CE5, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I'm not sure what they have me doing. We do something a little different than CE5, but it works.
What is that? What is that process, if you don't mind sharing that?
Well, a lot of the CE5 thing are very mental, and it's too mental. You really, when you get into the higher dimensional beings, you got to go through the heart, and you connect through the heart and through telepathy and things like that. And like a good example is they were doing that protocol at the ranch one day, and I walked in the middle of the protocol, and they're reading this 6-page thing, and And I walked in and I told them, hey, the ships are here. They were flying over the house. And they go, stop interrupting us and stuff like that. So, and they had to read their whole thing and go through their whole protocol and read the 6 pages. And then they walked outside and the ships are gone, So it's, if you're stuck in the mind and trying to control things, you're working with some very spiritually and technologically advanced beings. And so you have to rise to the occasion, and they connect through the heart. And your soul sits right next to the heart. And there's a cavity there, actually, and your soul is your connection to your multidimensional self. And a lot of these are multidimensional beings. So if you really want to connect to these higher dimensional beings, you do it through the heart, and you send out the intent, send out love and joy and bliss, because that's the level they're operating on, and with the intention of making contact. And you invite them. Some people say, can you summon them? I said, no, you don't summon them. You invite them. It's like, they'd just laugh at me if I demanded that they came. It's like, that's the old programs, the old stereotypes.
Yeah, I mean, it only makes sense, like that old Finding Bigfoot show, or these show hunting Bigfoot. They go out there with these guns and these cameras, and they have this like intention that, of course, they're not going to show themselves whenever you're out there with their wrong intent. And they're not there from the heart. They're putting on, they're there for other reasons, and therefore they're never going to have success.
Yeah, they're there for the fame and to cash in, and get a big contract or whatever. I don't know. It's that whole thing. Like, we're like oil and water. When Hollywood comes to ECETI, we just don't mix at all. And every time they've come here, they've sanitized it, they've butchered it, the story, they've made a mess of everything. And so, when you send the unconscious to do something that is conscious, it just doesn't. Mm-hmm. And so that's why we've been doing a lot of our own stuff, and we're going to move more in that direction of making our own documentaries and movies and things like that.
Yeah,
very nice.
That's really exciting, actually. Sign me up if you need if you need help. No, that's really cool. Going back to Camp Disclosure, though, just for the people who don't know, the live stream tickets are still available. The event is sold out, but the live stream tickets are $44, and that includes every speaker now, including a recent add-on. Rachel Ferris will be there singing, performing again. That'll be part of it. So we're actually going to pause, something we never do. We're going to pause and play a quick little promo, and then we'll be right back. And we're back. What do you have prepared as far as what you're presenting out there? Is there anything new? Are you showing ECETI type of stuff, or is that all secret?
Well, I've shortened a lot of my stuff because I want to keep it, more on the spiritual side. So it's kind of, I've taken out a lot of things, but I'm going to show some clips, and I have our latest stuff that we've filmed in a little collage and photographs that people have taken of all kinds of things appearing here And so I'll do something like that. And then, I'm still working on it right now, but, try to incorporate all the new stuff and things like that. But it's going to cover from A to Z, basically, what's on the lower dimensions, what to watch out for, how to heal unseen negative influences. And then goes up the ladder all the way up to like 13th dimensional beings and things like that.
Awesome. Yeah, looking forward to that. I lost my train of thought. What was I going to say?
I don't know.
Right, because I'm doing clearings right now.
Yeah,
Clearings, everybody blanks out. You
cleared my thoughts. I swear I was just blank slated. I had it on the tip of my tongue, and it's like, where did that go?
Yeah, it's common. That's pretty funny.
That's awesome.
Yeah, but it should be a pretty fun event. I'm looking forward to it. And that's what I was going to say. You should. I don't know if you ever did get a hold of that footage of that orb going up my back out there when Ben and Rachel and I were.
I hope we got that. You sent it already, I believe, didn't you? Or?
Ben has it. I have a copy of it too.
Okay. Yeah, be sure and send that to us, and I'll put it in the. That was amazing because that was so bright and so interesting the way that you couldn't deny that.
No, it was, from my perspective, it felt like almost like something put its hand on my back. Like it felt like I was getting nudged very lightly.
Yeah.
And I turned around because I was scared. It's pitch black out there. The light from the camera makes it appear like we could see, but you can't. And I turned around and I saw this like little shrub moving. So I kind of almost wrote it off. Like I wrote it off as, maybe I backed into that shrub. But then it didn't make sense as I thought about it. And then when Ben Chastain just happened to be filming at that same exact time. And when you play the film back, right at the moment that I jump around, this big white orb goes up right past my back, right where I felt it.
I saw the video. Yep.
Yeah.
Well, I've got a copy of that so I can put it in with the some of the other preview stuff about the conference and the other things. And
if you listen closely, you can almost hear like two footsteps, like almost like crunches in the grass, right behind me. I don't know. It's cool. It's really cool that we caught it.
A lot of that happened this weekend. There was 3 or 4 Bigfoot sightings, a really young one and a mother look-alike. And we actually got the footprints. We got photographs of the footprints from that one, and really small. The other footprints were probably, for a Bigfoot, they're pretty small. There's a little baby, really young one. And then, multiple people saw that. And some people got some photographs of these orange lights cruising across the field. And then they Bigfoot appeared right where these lights were. So I've always said, I think they travel as an orange orb, and then they just reappear. We got a lot of that. And we got some really powerful light ships and things with windows and everything appearing right over the field. So we got some photographs of that. So we'll have a lot of pretty crazy stuff.
Yeah, actually, right after that happened to me, Rachel Ferris and I saw a red orb in the trees. It was right in front of us. We both saw it. And simultaneously, Ben didn't see it, but he's like, you guys, there's a presence here right now. He could feel something, but he didn't see the orb. So that happened right after that. It was really cool. And that whole night was unplanned. We just ended up out there somehow. And it was, I think that's how you're going to have your best luck, is when you're looking so hard.
I love that saying, man plans and God laughs, So it's like you just follow your intuition. You go, I need to go over here and do this. And you do that, then things happen. And you have all kinds of amazing experiences. But the more you try to plan everything out, it just doesn't work. It's a different frequency.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I want to shift gears a little bit just to talk about some of the current stuff that's going on. This Save the Children thing that's sweeping the internet right now. I'm sure you're aware of that. But in this child trafficking, this is the fight right now. This is what we need to be focused on. And it's very telling that no mainstream source will talk about human trafficking, and then it's getting censored on all social media platforms. And the biggest thing right now is to actually get Trump reelected. That needs to be our focus as far as that goes. And not to make that sound political, but that's where we're at right now. You know, none of this disclosure can happen until the political arena is cleaned up. So that's where we have to start.
Yeah, exactly. And same with a lot of these programs, these major funding programs. I told people, I said, they aren't going to go through until the cleanup, you know, because they're not going to take billions of dollars and put them in the hand of some very evil people.
No.
And that's kind of been the case. But yeah, that needs to be the focus right now. And I had so many people send me hate mail for talking about Trump. And I said, well, you know, the guy's doing everything he said he was going to do. And he's cleaning up the swamp, and he's stopping this, you know, a major drug and child trafficking. He's putting an end to that. What are the other people doing? You know, these, especially the guy running against him, you know, Biden, like, what has he done? He was 40-something year career politician or whatever. Mm-hmm. What did he do? And why hasn't any of this been done under his watch? You know, so, and I think the people that are screaming the loudest have the most to hide, basically.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know, like, what have you tapped into? Like, so there's a lot of controversy, or there's a lot of theories about children actually being rescued, but people are saying there's no meat to it. There's no evidence. Have you tapped into it? Have you gotten any messages that is taking place?
Well, yeah, Mary was talking about it once, and she was giving the image of Mary with a bat, like the divine feminine was going to come in, and it was going to come in strong, especially concerning the children, and really get down to business, exposing this and cleaning that up. And I thought it was funny because you see, you know, Trump has all these women heavily involved in ending the child trafficking. The women are doing it, and he's behind them and supporting that. But also too, in remote viewing that, we had saw a lot of different things. But one of the things I saw was all of these cages, like tons of cages, and they went all the way up to the ceiling. They're metal cages. And when I went into it's a big underground facility. And when I went in there, they were empty. It was all cleaned up. It was completely cleaned up. So apparently, you know, a lot of that has been cleaned up and taken care of. You know, so I don't know. I've heard stories from nurses and things that had to attend to a lot of these kids and talking about it. So, you know, I think a lot of those ships weren't for the COVID people; they were for the kids, you know, that were there.
Yeah,
they're set up for kids. You know, they had all the stuff to deal with kids. You know, so
yeah, we've seen a lot of evidence for that too.
Yeah,
it's still like nothing super concrete. So there's always like, is it happening, or is it, you know, like in the back of your mind? But we have seen a lot of evidence though as well.
Yeah, and I know some people that were in the know about a lot of that stuff quite a while ago, and they're telling me how sick it was and how bad it was, and it was really happening. And they've been telling me that it's really getting cleaned up. So the same people. So there's something going on. I think eventually that's part of the, you know, when all the indictments get unsealed and all that information is going to come out, and there's a lot of people are going to be very, very upset when they find out their icons and the stars and the people they thought were these awesome people turn out to be pretty dark, you know, and have a very dark past. And it seems that the darker you are, the more famous you can become. You know, you got to join the club. You got to do a few things to join that club, and they did it, you know.
And you know who those people are, because they never stray off message. They're always, as crazy as it might seem, and as, you know, the whole world will discover that something happened, and they'll still be the ones preaching the opposite. It's like they will never stray off that path.
And a lot of them you can tell there's no soul to them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're almost like an Autobot. But a lot in the movie industry and music industry, you see these people and you look at them and they have meltdowns, and you're going, there's nobody in there, you know, who's operating through that vehicle, you know?
Yeah. It's almost like they're possessed by some negative entity or something.
Something else.
Or they phrase, you know, sell your soul for rock and roll or whatever it
That's
might be.
literally true.
Like I actually think there's some real, very real truth to that.
Yeah.
And Rachel Ferris actually touches on that a lot, you know, as far as
she saw a lot of that activity, and we were sharing stories about Michael Jackson and things like that. It's kind of funny, but we were involved a little bit in that when I was helping out a German biophysicist and doing a lot of healing work down in LA and Hollywood stuff, and so a lot of stars were involved in that, and you know, I got my indoctrination into a lot of that nonsense, but you know, I don't know. If they were to ask me to go back there again, I'd say no. You know.
Yeah.
Why would you? Yeah. I mean,
I saw things. You know, I saw people just totally taking advantage of the situation and coming and saying, "I'm broke. I don't have any money," and so all of this money went out to them and formulas and things like that and all this stuff, and then you find out later they're multimillionaires and they're some famous person. They've got, you know, and you know, and you're trying to help these people and heal these people and just say, well, pass it on, you know, if you can help other people, help with their treatments and things. And they never did, you know, and it was just like, I kept going, what are we doing here? You know, why are we helping these people? I'd rather go to some third world country and do something, you know,
where
it's appreciated.
Going back to the children thing real quick, we knew somebody personally who had some firsthand information. They end up not wanting to talk. Actually, it was really interesting. We got all of this information from this individual, and she agreed to come on the show, and then she took back almost like
it's like she got scared.
She backstepped and started saying, "Oh no, that wasn't true." Blah blah blah. Like almost like she was
backpedaled.
Yeah, she backpedaled. Yeah,
she was either threatened or got scared, and changed her mind. And
and she even had some paperwork, like some documents and stuff. Like so that was like all the evidence I needed. Like something's going on here.
Yeah, we had a woman here once. I'll never forget it. That she came up and she. And it was with International UFO Reporting Center, that group and everything. They've been attacking us forever, saying there's nothing happening here. There's no ships. There's nothing, you know. And she was with that group, and she came up here, and she saw 17 undeniable ships that she could not categorize in any way whatsoever. And they also sent an engineer up here to investigate. And same thing, the report came back. They said, look, there are things that are not identifiable. They're not in the books, you know, they're not on Heavens Above or J Tracker at the time. And they said that, and they displayed, you know, one got huge, kept coming, got bigger and bigger. And one of them hit the ground and freaked her out, you know, because scared her, you know. Yeah. And so, you know, all these things happened. And what's funny is that when the reports were all made, they came back to them saying that, well, they totally confirmed our suspicions. There's nothing more than meteors and satellites, you know. and then the engineer came out and just totally went after him, said, that is not my report. You read my report. You know what's in this report. Yeah. And the other woman forgot everything. I don't think she forgot everything. She goes, I'm going to call this out. I'm going to call this out. She goes, the ships are here. I've never seen anything like this. And she goes, I'm going back. I'm going to call it out. And then I talked to her again like a week later, and she goes, what are you talking about? I didn't say anything. You know?
What?
I go, what? And I said, I have you on my radio show talking about all the ships that you saw and everything else. She goes, I was never there. She goes, I didn't go on your show. Like, and I go, what? You know,
near the show, and like
maybe she was
listen to yourself.
Maybe she was bilocating at that time.
Yeah.
Well, I think somebody flipped the switch, you know. Or whatever. I think she was totally mind controlled or something.
Mind wiped or something. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so sad. That's really interesting, you know. And another thing we have to keep in mind is a lot of these people, they get blackmailed too. So that might be a reason they shut up. You know, you never know. Like
threatened and blackmailed, and They use all the tactics.
Look what happened with Flynn. I mean, that whole entire thing, his whole family was, they were threatening his family. So he was forced to lie.
Yeah. It's hard to believe that is still going on. I mean, and the reason I think it is still going on, because once he's totally exonerated, I think he's going to be appointed to a very high position, and then the shoe's going to be on the other foot, and he knows where all the bodies are buried, so they don't want him, don't want him in that position.
Well, according to Corey's intel from the conference, he said that for the first time since Trump's presidency, Flynn is actually allowed in the briefings. So. And he's allowed in the briefings and the meetings, and he has a lot of information. So this is huge.
Yeah.
Like you said, he knows where the bodies are buried, and he knows what else he knows.
Yeah, probably a lot. But yeah, I really feel something. I can feel it. There's something big going down.
Yeah.
And it's in like a holding pattern, kind of. It's everything's being set up underneath the event, but there's something. The patterns, the groundwork is all being laid out and everything. Something big is going to go down. And I think it's going to be really shocking to a lot of people when it does.
Yeah, I feel it as well.
Yeah.
For sure.
I just, last week I was meditating and I had an albino deer come out of the woods.
Oh, yeah.
An albino fawn, and she was nursing for her mother. And I looked up what that meant, and it meant, and then as far as Native American prophecy goes, it means that a major shift is coming, and to basically get ready is in a nutshell. So I felt like it might have been more personal, but maybe not. Maybe it was the sun, telling something.
Yeah, similar to the white buffalo. We have the same thing going on here. We have this all white deer that people have been seeing here, and I know with the with the sheep, I had some strange sheep that were multicolored. They're both dark brown and white, and their eyes were bright blue. And and it's so bizarre. And we sold about 17 of them, I think, to get the herd down to it. And I kept the one, just because she's really different, but it's spooky. You look in her eyes and you're going, what are you, human or something? You don't see that very often.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, honestly, we pay attention to the animals before a real storm is coming. They're always ahead of the game. They know when something's coming. It's the same with Trump's storm. I mean, pay attention to the animals right now. Seriously, they might have something to tell us.
Yeah, we just had, what's happening here is we went through a major transition, and the energies are really kicking up right now. And the people that are really heart-centered are here now working in that direction. And I've noticed that all the animals, we have like 35 to 50 turkeys show up every morning, walk right in front of my place, go right through the Skywatch field, and they go out to the galactic medicine wheel and just hang out there. It's like clockwork every morning now. The deer, just before I came on the show, there was 2 deer right in front of my place, and a buck and a younger one, a female. And then we have a lot of deer and babies going around, but the coyotes too are just coming right in, and I'm filming them with my cell phone, just right in front of me, and they don't care. It's like they're so at peace or whatever at ease, and they don't hit the chickens. They don't go after the cats or anything else. They're just like, there's a different harmony happening here now, and just seeing a lot of things that we didn't see before, because we have everything up here. We have, elk and badgers and bears and cougars and all that stuff. So, and we've been having a few bear sightings here too. A lot of bear been coming down and hanging out, but they're really timid, the bears. If you even see one, you're lucky. They get out of your way pretty fast. Yeah,
well, that's there. You just proved my point right there. I mean, something is going on with the animals, definitely.
Yeah, that's a prophecy too. That's a Native American prophecy where they said that when the animals start coming down from the hills and start mingling with you, it's like things are on. Things are going to be happening.
Yeah.
Is that why there's so many spiders in my house right now?
Yeah. Yeah, I got bit in the butt last night. I don't know. I got a big old bite from something. I don't know. And my body sure did not like whatever bit me, but
Yeah. You know, what's interesting about, you said something big's coming. I think I told you this when I was out at the ranch, but I woke up a few weeks ago before we went to ESETI, and he was in that state where you're just half awake, and I had this very audible voice, like I was wearing headphones, and it was a man. He said, "Write this number down, 92720."
mm-hmm.
So I had my phone there, so I just texted it to him. He had no idea what the number meant. 927.
That was a zip code or something.
Well, I fell back asleep, and later that day in meditation, I was like, oh, yeah, that number. I wonder what that means. And I tapped into it, and immediately I got a date, 9/27/20, September 27th. Now, I have no idea what that means or if it's anything significant, but that doesn't happen often. So I just
had that same thing happen to me, and I didn't write it down. Hopefully it'll come back to me, but the same thing, I was giving some numbers, and damn, I might be able to recall them. I don't know, but I got to write this down. I got to write this down. And then I fell asleep again, and then I lost it, so
yeah,
I didn't write it down, but I remember that. I remember getting these numbers and I got to write these down.
Interesting.
Maybe it might come back.
Yeah. Well, this guy told me, he said, write these numbers down. That's exactly what he said. So, and it was so clear. I knew I had to. And I didn't even, it wasn't like I was going to forget what they were, because it was just like, almost like beamed into my head.
Yeah. You get caught up and, with me, when I used to meditate, I still meditate like twice a day, and I take hot Epsom salt baths and do a long meditation there and things like that. But when I was really meditating intently, I was doing like all day meditation. The veils between worlds were very thin. I just could remember everything. And now I got busy with all the ranch duties and everything, and the conferences and all the other stuff, and I feel like I'm losing part of that, but I need to get back to that program.
I mean, that's part of life. I mean, yeah, you can't keep these practices up all the time like clockwork. Honestly, if you do, sometimes I think if you do too much of one or the other, you almost get out of balance in a way, because if you go so far monk like, and you step out of that 3D matrix, you start there's an imbalance that happens, and you're not really acting from your heart center anymore, because you start judging people maybe in a different way. I don't know. It's you get where I'm going with that.
Yeah, though. You get caught up in this world, and I always tell people. I had a teacher once. I love what she said. She said, "Spiritual people are of no earthly good." And I really thought about it, because they're often they're not even grounded. They're not even here. And here's where the work needs to be done. It's not, everything's okay up there in the other dimensions. But the same thing is that we forget about grounding, and that we do have 7 chakras, and each one needs to be balanced and flowing. And each one has a consciousness connected to it. So, you have basically survival, and then your creational energies are coming out of the second chakra, your section, things like that. And then your third chakra is power. And then you have love felt through the heart chakra, and then love spoken through the throat, and then you have the third eye here, and that's creator or God seen in everything. And then when your crown opens up, it's your one. You're becoming one with the source, or I am God. It's your I am connection. But they all have to be flowing. They all have to be open and flowing. And, and if you're only working in the higher dimensions, higher connections, you can have all kinds of problems, because you're not grounded. You're not here physically. And then there's so many programs and societal programming, religious programming, everything else to totally shut down all the lower chakras and only operate from the higher chakra. And they kind of neutered Jesus and turned him into whatever, they're sanctifying him, the way they did it. And if they knew the real teaching, the real scriptures, like I just find in Nag Hammadi, they talk about how out of all of his disciples, Mary was the most qualified to continue with his teachings. And then in the Jewish tradition, they have writings about him, and they said that he was always being chastised for open displays of affection, with Mary. and then you tell people, oh yeah, he was all over Mary, and they go, no, he was a virgin. He didn't even kiss her because that was unclean. It's like, come on, guys, and
Yeah.
and she was part of the royal family. She went through all the mystery schools. She was adept. She was a powerhouse. She wasn't a whore like they tried to make her and all the other nonsense. So that's all to suppress the divine, to attack it. But I know Michal Ledwith covered that really well when he talked about the suppression and what happened.
What was it? Was it him that was saying that Jesus had a twin brother?
Thomas, yeah.
And so Thomas was the one who actually died at the cross and not Jesus. Is that what are your thoughts?
Yeah, he was saying he went on and he had kids, and that's what I was told too, is that he had 4 kids and he went on, and then Mary continued, and I think she ended up in France in a monastery or something in France, and he went on and he was traveling through Tibet and India, and he actually ascended. But Michal was saying that Mary didn't ascend. I think it was because of all the persecution, because they had to keep her sequestered because the other guys were all trying to take her out because she had the knowledge. His teachings were supposed to go. She was supposed to carry on his teachings, and so they had to get rid of her. And if he came back, they'd get rid of him too, to control everything.
That's super fascinating to me because I had never heard that before. And obviously when I tried to tell somebody about it, they immediately shut that idea down of Jesus having a twin. And I'm like, well, I can't really argue with you because I don't know either. And it's interesting that you're getting that same message.
Well, he went through the scourge, where they put the crown of thorns on him. They beat him. It was like a gauntlet, and they drove him out of town. So he did go through that, for sure. And so there's a lot of pain and suffering there, which is what they like to promote. But I like that picture of the laughing Jesus, where you release the past and, see him how he is now. But it's, the research is all showing that they haven't been telling us the truth for quite some time. And Michal is one of the best researchers on the planet. He had access to everything. He was an advisor to the Pope, and he had access to all the catacombs and everything. So it's quite interesting.
Yeah, that's fascinating to me. I think that a lot of people might be kind of blown away by that. Maybe, I don't know. What are your thoughts? You grew up in that world.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in a Baptist church, and that whole world, and no, that would have been like blasphemy if you would have tried to go around saying.
Oh yeah.
So I grew up super Christian, believing Jesus did die on the cross and he was the savior, and you had to accept him into your heart and repent of your sins and all that.
But how does that feel? Like, how does that information feel to you now? Does that resonate with you as a possibility?
Yeah, as a possibility for sure. I mean, anything's a possibility to me now because I know the narrative that I grew up believing is not the true narrative. It's not really what happens. Yeah. I do think he was an actual being. I do resonate very strongly with that because a lot of people try to say Jesus never existed at all.
Yeah, I don't believe in that at all.
I don't. I do think he actually existed. I do think obviously a lot of the texts and scriptures were manipulated and mistranslated, and obviously so much was taken out. The Nag Hammadi and the Book of Enoch, and much was removed that was more the real teachings and empowering teachings, where they needed to take all that out, obviously.
Go ahead.
No, and then they very much created the idea of hell, and had the whole fear kind of control system going. Obviously, like the Rome, really pushed that.
Well, they promote fear, guilt, and unworthiness.
Yeah.
And then they say he died for your sins, but if that's the truth, sin would have ended, after he died.
Yeah.
And people were sinning before and after he died. So that doesn't add up.
Yeah, it just doesn't make any sense.
And hell is a garbage pit. If you didn't have enough money for a proper burial, they just threw you on the garbage pit and burned you with the rest of the garbage. And sin is an archery term. It just means you missed, it's.
Yeah, when you look at everywhere in the Bible that gets translated as hell, it doesn't mean what we're taught it means. The words that the original text. It's like Gehenna, which is, like you said, a physical like garbage dump place.
Yeah.
It's translated as hell. A word that means death gets translated as hell. A word that means the grave. None of it means this eternal place of torment or whatever, and that we go to when we die. It's not even in the Bible. So it's literally just a made up narrative that gets taught in Christianity today.
But yeah, the rib one's a good one, where they said woman was made from the rib of man. Well,
yeah,
that got lost in translation because it was really said at the side of man. Equally there, she was made at the side of man.
At the side of man.
Yeah, and they didn't have a word for sides. In the Hebrew, it was the Greek word or something like that. So they put rib in there, and so there's been a lot of translations that had a huge social impact, because they weren't translated properly. But, it's, the thing about it, I look, not to go biblical or whatever, but basically when he started out, he said, I am the Son of Man. So he was the son of Joseph and Mary. And that was his identity. And then he said, I'm a messenger of God. He started receiving messages and started, transmitting those messages to others. And then he said, wait a second, I'm not this body or this personality. I'm a spirit. I came from source, creator. So he said, I'm the Son of God. And then the last thing he said was, I am God. The Father, Father and I are one, and he's, said the Father through me doeth the work. So he merged with the one consciousness that encompasses all consciousness on all planes and dimensions throughout the multiverse. He became one with that, which is the Buddhist teachings, basically, and so you read that his life was his message, and you really need to get his words, even though some have been changed, his words, get his words, not people's interpretations of the words, and you have a better.
Yeah.
And get a Bible with the Apocrypha that has all the teachings of women, and Archangel Michael's in there, and all these other people are in there. And they talk about reincarnation. They talk about everything. So.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And what's interesting to me, though, is like when we know the entire history of the planet now, which you've spoken on many times, why do we only go back? Why does our current times, mainstream, why do they only go back 6,000 years,
Yeah.
Like, why does it all start? Like, we all put so much focus into the story of Jesus, but like, what about all the other civilizations of man that were here millions of years before that? And who knows, even as far back as like extremely tall giants and massive trees miles high, I hear tales of that. And so why do we focus so much on Jesus? What about all that other stuff,
Well, it's a controlled narrative, just like ufology is a totally controlled narrative right now, and that's being busted wide open, and the people that are busting open that controlled narrative are really getting stones thrown at them and everything else. So it's crazy, but I've seen that. Like, I'm not even invited to the main UFO groups, anymore, because of all the jealousy and the anger. When I get through it, exposes how much the narrative has been controlled and everything, and so they don't ask me back, because it's so infiltrated by shills and planned opposition. People screaming anti-government are the government, and they're hanging out with the Illuminati boys and everything else, and it's just replete through the whole system. And the people that are the true light workers that carry the truth, that know the truth, they're being pushed out. And there's, Peter Slatter, you met Peter, and then Mary Rodwell, and there's a few others in there, but they're still holding true, but they're getting pushed out, heavily censored.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well,
I've noticed.
But that's why we have to create these new conferences for the real information.
Exactly.
I'm not saying that we have all the answers or you have all the answers, but at least we're exploring these topics and not ignoring them. And
this last conference that we did, that's what everybody said. They said, God, everybody knocked it out of the park. Every speaker had such an awesome presentation. They're all different, but they all dovetailed with each other. And it was just there's so much information in that, and we're just now finally, the final edit I think has just been finished. I think today. So all the speakers are going to go up. We'll have that available for everybody if people want to see it, from the live stream. But it was like one after another, and then who really cracked me up was Kate Buckman, Awakening Kate.
Kate Buckley, yeah.
Buckley. God, I laughed so hard. Some of the stuff, those memes that she came up with. I started laughing at one, and then she'd throw another one, and I was laughing again. Okay, I'm done laughing. Then another one come up, and they were just so to the point and just nailed it. And
she had a way of delivering it too. That was
her delivery was awesome.
I mean, I would think I was belly laughing. I mean, that player like we were at a comedy act or something.
Yeah,
it was good. It was much needed.
It was like a comedy act with just pure truth in it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And sometimes I think that's the way things need to be delivered now, because everything else is so censored.
Yeah, it was really great. Yeah, everybody, and it was good because some people touch on the dark stuff and that dark information which needs to be exposed, but you need to break it up with that laughter.
Yeah, my last show got just hammered right at 40 minutes. Just the whole network went down. We couldn't even hook up to anything here, and it was unbelievable. And we were covering some of the heavy duty stuff,
Wow.
They just shut it. That happens here all the time, and so we have to film it as well as do the live podcast, and then put it back up, in the unadulterated version,
Yeah.
We've been very fortunate, knock on wood. We've been very fortunate as far as not experiencing much interference or censorship.
Well, we're pretty small.
Yeah,
so that's probably why.
But still, I mean,
I've
seen other people get
that's true.
Get railed hard, So I don't know if we're protected or what, but
that aren't big. Also, it's true. So I don't know.
As soon as our show started really taking off, we went into. I think we've got almost 80 something affiliates, or almost 90 affiliates, and it goes off into about 50 countries and everything else. And it just grew like wildfire. And as soon as that happens, when we started really getting the attacks, because we were reaching too many people, and just, people are waking up. So I think that's going to be limited here pretty soon. I think there's some things coming down the pike that are going to put an end to a lot of the censorship that's been going on.
Yeah, I mean, it has to.
Yeah.
It has to. That's just really what we're seeing taking place. This is their last stand, That's their only weapon left is the censorship, is the media. And we just have to deal with it until we finally take them down.
It's already game over, and I think they know that. It's just, we're just watching it play out now, and they're going down kicking and screaming, because that's all they know. And that's kind of like they're kind of like their mode of operation.
All this energy coming in is activating everybody's telepathy. It's one of the genes that's being activated, and so you have that, and then the it's called direct knowing. You just know, and that's being activated, and they don't realize the forces that are doing these activations are so far beyond anything they can imagine. So. I mean, as far as all the deception and lies and everything, that's coming to an end. It's not frequency specific, or it's not going to work with the process that the whole Earth's ascending. So it's their game is over. They've already lost. They just haven't figured it out. But everybody's going to see through it.
I think they have figured it out. It's like a psychopathic tendency. Even though they know they might have lost the argument, they're still going to take you down with them, And that's what they're going to do. They're going to just make it as miserable as possible for as many people possible until they're finally wiped out.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. They do. I mean, I'm running that, even in SETI, we have that going on now. And then we have people that, you try to heal, you try to talk to them, you try to clear, and eventually you have to say, okay, time to go, it's time to go. It's like multiple opportunities, and now it's taking.
You're not willing. There's nothing you can do. Yeah. It has to be their choice. Yeah.
Exactly. You have no power over free will. So, but you do have power to set boundaries and say, you need to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
Well, James, this has been amazing. We're going to start wrapping it up. One thing I did want to mention is John Vivanco at the ranch at the conference remote viewed the election, and he said that Trump wins. So
He did.
if we can put any weight in that,
Putting his whole reputation on the line there.
Well, I don't even think at this point there's not really a campaign. I mean, I don't even understand what
Biden's really going to be the guy.
I just think it's so obvious that Trump. There's no other option.
One debate and it's over.
Yeah.
It's like which nuke do I drop? Trump's probably looking at the list. Which one do I drop? And whoever he chooses is going to be the same thing as a running mate for, unfortunately for Biden. And these bombshells. And now Biden is up on charges now in the Ukraine and things like that for all the stuff he did there. So that's all going public. So it's toast. People ask me and they go, what do you see happening? And I said, well, I just see all this coming to an end. And I really don't, whether or not there's an election or not, I still see Trump in charge. Mm-hmm. So, there may not be, something else might be so intense that goes down that and so, people are just going to have to get over it, do some research and realize what's really going on because, it's sad because people are so socially engineered and programmed and they've been playing on their emotions for so long. They haven't done any research. They're critically thinking impaired. They haven't looked at all the good that's been going on. None of that is seen or talked about. And you go, God, at what time do you wake up from this nightmare and say, wait a second, everything that the Dems are saying, they've done the opposite. Everything they accuse the other people of, they've done 10 times over. Yeah. And at what time does your inner sensitivity kick on? You go, wait a second, these are not really nice people, and I don't think I want them governing me.
If they're people at all.
Yeah. And so basically, to me, it's not rather Democrat or Republican. I really like to see a council of grandmothers running things with a galactic council, above that. I think that would be ultimately the way to go. Yeah. And, a lot more women involved. And I really do think it'd be great to get a council of grandmothers of every nation and have them tackle some of these things, these problems we're dealing with. And let's hear their solutions. That's when things are going to start working.
Benevolent leadership is what we're moving into rather than these parasitic, greedy. Yeah,
that'll be the day when we see a council of grandmothers running the show. Then we'll probably have forgotten about this time by then.
Yeah. Well, men have to get behind the grandmothers, and start listening. That is a prophecy too, that the grandmothers are supposed to the women are supposed to step forward now, and in a lot of the traditions, Native American traditions, they talk about that. They said,
I have a painting of the Council of Grandmothers that I bought at a Native American festival. This woman saw them appear in her travels, and she painted them, and it was amazing. And she explained exactly what you're explaining, like they're here for this shift and basically all that stuff. So it's really interesting.
Yeah, it's all connected, like Buffalo Calf Woman and Mary and that whole energy, the house. I would say it's all that Shekinah, the divine feminine energy. It's all interconnected. And I think that's what's going to bring everybody back together. And religions and governments aren't going to do it. It's going to happen through the hearts, minds of the people, and that's where it's going to happen. And they're being inspired by some very divine forces right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so I do think there is a bright future ahead. We know that. It appears like it looks horrible right now.
It's a bumpy ride getting there, but it's a very
it's
very bright future ahead.
Just remember to wear your mask and social distance, and we'll get through this.
The vaccine.
Mine's invisible.
You know what's funny? We were at the Cahokia Mounds, an ancient Native American site, this morning. We're filming a documentary, and the woman we were interviewing forgot to bring her sage, and she wanted to burn some sage for whatever ceremony she was doing. And I said, well, you could just burn my mask because apparently that has amazing protective abilities. Instead of the sage, I'll just burn my mask. That'll block anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Highly overrated. Yeah, it's it's nice. I think people are it's really because I just went into town today and I had to take care of a lot of other business and God, everybody's in fear and they're locked down and they got their masks and they're all just freaking out. It's a different world. It's a whole different world.
Yeah.
And then in Washington State, Governor Inslee or whatever, he lost all of his court cases, and the Supreme Court said, no, you can't enforce any of this, the masks, the lockdowns, any of this. You have no right to do that. So I don't know where they're getting their authority from to do this, because it's really not coming from any legal, precedent.
That's even the restaurants and the stores. I'm like, the manager is getting mad at people, but I'm like, okay.
It seems to all just be a mind game on everyone. Yeah. Like, people are scared. Like, basically everyone's told there's this deadly virus and this is what's going to protect you, and it's not, but that's what everyone thinks. And then, it's mandated. So now, all the business, and I've noticed it's like some businesses aren't really enforcing it and some are. It just depends on, or places.
But the ones that are enforcing it, it's like, what are you afraid of? Who in this store is going to are they going to handcuff you if you don't make me wear a mask?
You can't.
Yeah. And that's what he said. Where's the authority at? Like, what is,
there's no laws. There's no, like,
they don't understand. They don't even know why they're doing it just because they're told to do it. They're not,
I love that meme where it says, I'll imagine your mask works if you imagine I'm wearing one.
You can pretend I'm wearing one. I can pretend it.
I've never even seen that. That's great.
I saw that.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. But this whole thing, I think it's going to come to an end here. The curve is flattened. It's like zero. So time to let go of that program. But people are still. People need to rise up and pull their power back and say, no, I'm not doing it. And that's the thing. If you're wearing a mask, if you want to wear a mask, great. And if that mask works, what are you worried about? Exactly. Why are you worried about anybody else? And the same thing with inoculations. If you got your kids immunized, why do you care? Obviously you don't think the immunization works, or you wouldn't be having issues with other kids not getting immunized. And even Trump said we're not going to force immunization anywhere. They're not mandatory anymore.
It doesn't work. I mean, 60,000 people die a year from the flu, and there's a vaccine for that. Why?
Well, I just heard that their test case, they did a test with this new vaccine. I can't remember which group it was, but they did 4 guys and they're in the military. 5 guys in the military, 4 died, and 1 is sicker than the dog. And I just got that information. My brother found that, and you're not going to hear that on the news. No. So apparently there's some serious problems with that.
Well, and that's another meme I saw. Is it's like the same people wearing a mask. The people wearing a mask now are the same people that are going to inject the virus into themselves later.
Yeah. The other thing too is that I think you have, I can't remember what the percentage was, 37% chance of getting COVID if you had the flu shot. And if you've had the flu shot, you're going to test positive anyway for COVID. So, and then a pow fruit tested positive, and a goat, and 200 people that never took the test got positive results.
And I keep seeing all these reports of people saying they never took the test, and then they get the results back saying they were tested positive. Mm-hmm. And there was a nurse at a hidden camera showing the screen in the hospitals, saying, like, she's like showing the screen, all these people tested negative, and they marked them as positive in the system, like tons of people. So there's all these different frauds.
Well, the Florida thing, they said that they had about out of 100 people only that they said were COVID cases. When they really did the research, less than 10% were. Mm-hmm. And so my question is, all of a sudden nobody died of heart attacks, nobody dies of strokes, nobody died of plane crashes.
The flu they even said is like
flus.
almost nothing.
They all die of COVID. You know, this stuff. This must be amazing because this new virus has totally stopped heart attacks, strokes, everything else, and even parachute accidents are getting car accidents. It's stopped all of them, you know, because you're not going to die of that, you know, since this virus is here.
The only thing you have to worry about is COVID now.
Yeah, which is a bad cold, basically.
Yeah.
But, it's insane. I mean,
well, it's also, I think another part of it is probably if you're super scared of it, you're going to manifest getting sick. You're going to manifest.
Yeah. Well, you also too, the mass, you know, they cut your oxygen levels down to 17%, which throws your immune system into chaos and everything. And you're, you know, it goes against all the OSHA standards. If you're down below 17%, you're supposed to close. You can't work in that environment. And so they're not even following their own rules. And, you know, it's like if you don't, I can go on and on with this, but I don't.
It's a never ending.
Do the research, everybody. You know, what do you have a 99.74% chance of your own immune system beating it? 99.74 or something like that. So you have this 0.06% of the people that couldn't kick it, which is not even measurable. But
all the advice and everything they're telling you to do is lowering your immune system.
Exactly, harming you.
Yeah.
You know, sunshine just kills it automatically. You know, don't go to the beach. Salt water kills it automatically.
Stay indoors where you're not.
Yeah, sunshine, salt water just totally takes it out. You know, it's like stay indoors and create your own little incubation program.
You know, hand sanitizer, which kills all your good bacteria. Lowers your
and then that stuff, can you imagine all the hand sanitizers? That stuff's totally flammable. And then they light a match and you can't see the flame when it goes off, and all of a sudden your hand's burning. You're going, what's going on? You can't even you don't even see what's going on unless you turn the light out, and then you can see the flame, you know. But
interesting. I didn't realize that. Yeah,
put a little hand sanitizer in a bowl of water and light it and see what happens.
Right.
But turn the light out when you do it so you can see the flame, because it's real, you know.
That's crazy.
Well,
but
we can go in circles.
We can talk for a long time.
I definitely
end on a positive note here.
there's the good aspect of all of this that's going on is it's waking so many people up, because it's so crazy and insane and obvious that there's just this massive manipulation going on, right? And this massive propaganda and this massive agenda. And so many people I'm seeing so many people that were completely asleep before all this happened they're like, whoa, what is going on here? And they're starting to do their own research, and they're waking up from this.
Yeah, there's an activation happening.
And then also the quarantine, the good aspect of that was it kind of like all people that were so caught up in their 3D lives with those distractions were forced to deal with, like, well, who am I outside of my job and all this stuff, and kind of took away all of those distractions. And but it's still the fact that it's not, it's just insane that they're still dragging this out and trying to push this agenda.
Well, it's about the election.
And obviously we know what it's about.
Well, any gathering, any large gathering, they don't want people coming together and hugging each other, and it's just insane.
They want to keep us in fear, and
unless it's a peaceful protest.
Unless you're rioting or
you don't have to wear a mask if you're looting and burning down buildings. Rioting, but if you're not, you have to wear a mask.
Obviously, I lied earlier when I said I was wrapping it up. But
we do that a lot, though.
But we are going to wrap it up now.
All right.
You guys, make sure you grab a live stream ticket for Camp Disclosure, since if you're not already going, but it's going to be awesome. It's going to be a lot of fun. We get to listen to James tell us a little bit about the spiritual path and some new information. So it's going to be really, really awesome. So grab a ticket if you can. And thanks again for coming on, James. It's always a pleasure. Looking forward to seeing you in a few weeks here.
Yeah, that'll be great. And it's always awesome seeing you guys and sharing and all the crazy stuff going on. That, especially all the stories he said, they're just ongoing. It's still going on, and we're still getting crazy footage and photos.
Yeah, I know. We could probably have talked about that the entire time, but
yeah.
We'll save some of that mystery for the people who haven't been out there yet. Let them go see it.
Or we'll get you all the footage, and we'll do another show and just talk about all the crazy footage.
Yeah.
Some of it you're a part of it anyway too. You guys were in it, so
awesome.
Love that.
Definitely, we will make that happen. All right, thanks for tuning in, everybody. You were about to close it out like it's your show.
Sure.
All right, thanks for tuning in, everybody. We will see you next week, and thanks for coming on, James. This has been a pleasure. Have a good night, everybody.